1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Are you guys happy? On the cameras, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. Well, what about the others? 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're happy, yeah? Do you want to do a quick tech? 1, 2. 1, 2. You happy? You happy? Good stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Brilliant.
Okay. Prime Minister, Chancellor, it's a great pleasure to welcome you both to this wonderful facility here at Solihull.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you for hosting us. It's fantastic to see everybody.
This amazing site is our biggest manufacturing car plant in the UK. We employ over 9,000 highly skilled members of this wonderful company. And we support another 60,000 of the local community. Solihull is home to some of the most beautiful cars on the planet. Cars that are loved by 500,000 new customers every year. It's home to the Range Rover. The Range Rover is peerless. It defines itself. It's the ultimate luxury, and it's built by the people around you today. Today, we've announced global sales for the last 12 months of 428,854 vehicles. And 189,000 of those were built here at Solihull. What an amazing achievement, given the stresses and the strains of the last 12 months. Further, I'm delighted to confirm, through the incredible work of our 44,000 employees, we've also eliminated all of our net debt. That was £5 billion just 31 months ago. This company and what it's done over the last 2.5 years, what you've done for this company is simply extraordinary. Thank you. Thank you. Of course, the debt elimination is vital. It's vital for our future investments. We're now investing £18 billion over the next 5 years. That's increased by 70% over the last 2 years. And those investments, of course, are essential. They're essential for new product. They're essential for new technology. They're essential for us to go on our journey of electrification. But we are meeting at one of the most challenging times that face our industry. There are multiple forces: economic, geopolitical, and technology converging together. So, to continue to thrive and to enable ongoing JLR growth and ongoing UK PLC growth, we are working closely with this government in face of significant financial international uncertainty. While we welcome today's announcement on ZEV, we all recognize we face a significant threat: the application of tariffs from the USA. This is now the critical piece of work we need the government to help us resolve. Of course, we have a clear intent to work through all significant challenges with them as a team in service of our people and this wonderful nation. With that, it's my great pleasure to hand over to the Chancellor, the Right Honourable Rachel Reeves.
Well said, Adrian.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adrian. It's great to be here with you and with all of the team here at Jaguar Land Rover. Jaguar Land Rover, you don't need me to tell you, is an iconic British brand and company. It's got a proud history, and there are huge opportunities despite the challenges that we face for the future. When it comes to high quality design and engineering, you, all of you, are gold standard. The skill, the expertise that Keir and I have seen here today demonstrate why that is, and why every year you produce hundreds and thousands of cars for export right across the globe, from Europe to China to India, and of course to the United States of America. Your success, and those of companies like you, is integral to the success of our whole British economy. But as I set out in the spring statement less than 2 weeks ago, the world is changing. We can see that before our eyes. The global economy has become more uncertain, and new tariff barriers are impacting global trade. Businesses like your own and workers, including those that I have met here today, are understandably concerned about what the measures announced by President Trump mean in practice. Because while the UK is in a stronger position compared to many others, sectoral tariffs and the interconnected nature of the global economy means that we will still feel the overall effects of tariffs elsewhere, and particularly in the auto sector. But I want all of you to know that this government, this Prime Minister, and with me as Chancellor, we have your back. The choice that we now have is how to respond to that changed world. We could step back and rely on old assumptions about how the world works. Or we can step up together and accept that the global landscape has changed, and so we must change with it. The approach that we are taking is cool-headed, it is pragmatic, and it is guided by the national interest, seeking to strike deals with our trading partners around the world, including with the United States. And we will continue to make the case for free, fair, and open trade, because that is how we will continue to deliver prosperity and security for working people here at Jaguar Land Rover and right across our country. And we must do more. We will, as a government, as a country, go further and faster to capitalise on new opportunities in this changing world, to improve our domestic competitiveness so that we are less exposed to global shocks, and to secure Britain's future for the long term. That means doubling down on economic stability, the basic condition to secure economic growth. It is why this government has stuck to its fiscal rules in the spring statement, even when they were tested, demonstrating that when Britain talks about economic stability, we really mean it. And stability matters even more for working people and for business in an uncertain world. In the coming months, we will publish a modern industrial strategy to tackle growth in 8 key sectors, including in advanced manufacturing. A new plan for maximising growth in all of our regions, including here in the West Midlands. And a multi-year spending review to deliver the long-term sustainable investment that we need to grow as an economy. In this new era, we will continue to provide support where it is needed, including in sectors most exposed to trade shocks. Sectors like car manufacturing, the UK's #1 goods export, which generates £93 billion globally in revenue. It employs over 150,000 people in high-value, high-skilled jobs like those here at Jaguar Land Rover. And we've announced billions of investment over the last 2 years in the development of electric vehicles. We want to provide clarity and certainty for manufacturers like JLR as you make these investments, which is why today we are reinstating the 2030 phase-out date for new petrol and diesel car sales, just as we promised in the election. This is fundamental for achieving our plans for energy security and, crucially, for incentivising investment in Britain. but we must do more to meet the moment and ensure that jobs and investment remain in Britain. We are already providing £2.3 billion to support zero-emission vehicle manufacturing and improving charging infrastructure, on top of the tax breaks that are worth hundreds of millions of pounds each year to help switch to electric vehicles and support British manufacturing. And today we are going further with new measures to support car manufacturers decarbonise in a way that is sustainable and good for jobs in Britain. I am pleased that companies like JLR have given their backing to our plan, which is about stepping up into the new challenges that we face and the new economic reality. Government, business, trade unions working in partnership, building resilience at home by safeguarding jobs and investment here in Britain, capitalising on new opportunities in the global economy, and delivering security and delivering prosperity for working people across our country. That is the prize that is on offer that we must achieve together in our national interest. And to say more about how we will seize that prize, I'm delighted to introduce the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thanks, Rach. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Adrian. And can I just say a big thank you to the entire workforce here. Some of you are here with us this afternoon, and I just want to say thank you for showing us what you do. We've been able to see some of the skill and experience that you put into this incredible product, years and years in the making in the technology. But thank you also for making us proud to be British, because as each car rolls off here, that is rolling off your production line, that is your commitment, that is your toil, your work, your professionalism, but it is then a product which you should be rightly proud of, and we're really proud of as a country. And none of that is easy. So thank you to each and every one of you. I'm trying to catch some faces, including those behind me, because I know just how much you put into that, and I want you to know just how much we appreciate what you do and how proud we are of what you do. So thank you for that. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon. Jaguar Land Rover, our leading exporter of goods, employing thousands of people across the West Midlands and beyond, including here, that proud symbol of British engineering brilliance. And brilliance is the right word. When you look at what is rolling off here, that is engineering brilliance. It is our industrial heritage, but also, in my strongly held view, it is our industrial future, not just our heritage. My message to you, Rachel, and my message to you today is simple. These are challenging times, but we have chosen to come here because we are going to back you to the hilt. And I think it's really significant that after the announcement on Wednesday, we had Adrian with us at 7 o'clock the next morning, and here we are Monday with you. Please read into that a statement of intent, because it is a statement of intent about how important this is for you, for us, and for the country. As Rachel has said, there's no doubt the challenge, but this is a moment for cool heads. Nobody wins from a trade war. You know that. But it's also a moment for urgency, because we've got to rise together as a nation to the great challenge of our age, and it is the great challenge, which is to renew Britain so that we're secure in this era of global instability. And nobody is pretending that tariffs are good news. You know that better than anyone. 25% tariffs on automotive exports and 10% on other goods. That is a huge challenge for our future, and the global economic consequences could be profound. But this moment has also made something very clear, that this is not a passing phase. And just as we've seen with our national security and defence, particularly over recent months in relation to the war in Ukraine, now with our commerce and trade, this is a changing and completely new world. an era where old assumptions, which we've long taken for granted, simply don't apply any longer. Now, before the election, I called it an age of insecurity. And that is the right phrase, insecurity. Because I know that that's how it's felt in the lives of working people. Insecurity, a care, a worry for builders, for carers, for nurses, factory workers like people here, working harder and harder for the pound in their pocket, yet watching this rising tide of insecurity threaten to sweep away the things that we cherish in our communities. Trust me, I know people will be feeling like that right now. But to those people I say, we have your back. This government will not just sit back and hope. That is how politics has failed you in recent years, sort of attempting to manage crises without fundamental change just leads to managed decline. So no, we're going to seize the possibilities, fight for the future, on defence spending, on AI, clean British energy, and on manufacturing, including car building. Make those forces work for Britain, rewire our economy and our state, so that once again they serve the interests of working people. And that is why we're rewiring the state completely, ripping up the regulation that stops it being a force for good, building new homes, new towns, new infrastructure, accelerating the investment that will finally unlock the potential of every community. And let me be really clear at a moment like this. Our future is in our hands. And so, of course, we will keep calm and fight for the best deal with the US. And we've been discussing that intensely over the last few days. But we are also going to work with our key partners to reduce barriers to trade across the globe, to accelerate trade deals with the rest of the world, and champion the cause of free and open trade right across the globe. Now, just like car building, that's always been our heritage, and we're not going to turn our backs on it now. And look, when it comes to the US, I will only strike a deal if it's in our national interest, if it's the right thing to do for our security, if it protects the pounds in the pocket that working people across the country work so hard to earn for their family. That is my priority. That is always my priority. Strength abroad, security and renewal at home. And on that journey of renewal, we take another step today with our car industry. You know, there are people in this country who love to talk down our manufacturing. They say we don't make anything important anymore, but that's not Britain. Well, I would invite any of those people to come here and see what you do in this factory. Anyone who's talking down manufacturing, I'd say come here to JLR and see what you're doing. And they wouldn't say it again. Because just as I've said, when we were going around earlier, what I saw made me proud, and I hope if I feel proud of what you're doing, you are entitled to feel proud of what you are doing. This is British brilliance in the flesh. You are making cars here, but you're also representing our country with each car as it departs. That's the pride that always goes with making things, and I've said it many times before, but I will say it again. My dad worked in a factory. He was an engineer. He made things with his hands. And he taught me as I was growing up that you should value the things that we make. And that is what's brilliant about manufacturing. And manufacturing shapes the identity of a place, this place, and of a community, and of a country. And that's how it gets in your blood. Which is why electric vehicles are so important. Yes, of course, it's about the climate. And you won't hear me undermining the urgency of that cause. But it's also about taking the pride, the heritage, the identity of places like this and securing it for the future. That's what previous governments never understood, the link between manufacturing and who we are as a country. But those days are over. They are finished. This is a government of industrial renewal. Because my choice in this volatile world is to back British brilliance. I believe that British car companies should be at the forefront of the electric revolution. This is the race that we belong in. And so I think EV targets are a good thing. They're good for the climate, good for business certainty and investment, good for British manufacturing. But I accept those targets have to work for British manufacturers. And I don't want British firms like this one put in a position where you have to pay a hefty fine or buy credits from foreign EV companies. So today, we're going to introduce much more flexibility into EV mandates. We're going to help car companies based in Britain reach the targets in a way that supports growth. We're going to cut down any fines, which I don't want or expect to see, by 20%, and any money that's raised will be invested directly back into support for the British car industry. We're also going to take action on hybrids, because these cars make a massive difference to reducing emissions. I mean, if you drive a Toyota Prius around town, or if you work here, a Range Rover, you probably spend a lot of time in electric mode. So I think for these vehicles, a 2030 ban is too soon. So we'll push that back to 2035 for all hybrids. And that's a new step that we're taking, a new announcement today. And because we're not ideological about how we cut carbon emissions, we're also going to make sure that cleaner, efficient petrol cars sold before 2030 count towards your EV mandate. That will be good for British car manufacturers like this one here. As Rachel has said, we're also putting £2.3 billion into the British car industry, giving people tax breaks worth hundreds of millions of pounds a year to help them switch to electric, improving charging infrastructure. That's a massive factor when people are thinking about switching. And our approach means we're seeing a new public charging point popping up every half an hour, because this is the moment when we back British business and charge up the electric revolution. British electric cars running off clean British power made by British workers, British cars for British workers. And as you know, and by the way, switching to electric can also save you up to £1,100 a year. So if we get this right, it can help with the cost of living as well. But look, it's not just our car industry that we need to back. In the coming days and weeks, we're going to use industrial policy to shelter British business from the storm. Take our life sciences sector, another shining example of British brilliance, absolutely pivotal part of our export economy. Well, we're going to back them as well. We're going to rip up the red tape, cut the stifling bureaucracy that slows down clinical trials. Now, Britain used to be so much better than this, but we've taken our foot off the pedal. The latest data says it takes over 250 days to set up a clinical trial. But I'm going to slash that to 150. And on top of that, I can announce a new investment, up to £600 million in new health data research service, a Wellcome partnership with Wellcome Trust, strengthen the genome cluster in Cambridge, making sure that patient data in our NHS is unlocked for the public good, an opportunity for growth, but more importantly, to save lives with cutting-edge medicine. And Britain is so good at this. We saw that in the pandemic, and now we need to pick up the pace again. This country has never waited around for history to shape us. We've shaped history, and we will do so again. Take our future into our hands. Do everything necessary to defend our national interest. Strengthen our alliances. Increase our defence power. Support our businesses, jobs and workers. Rebuild, in defiance of a volatile world, our industrial strength. That is the purpose of this government. Security and renewal. The world may be changing, but we are driving forward, securing our future with a clear plan for change. Thank you very much for listening to me this afternoon. Thank you. Now, I do want to talk to as many of you as possible, so if you're able to stay, I'd really appreciate just a few moments of your time. Before I do that, I'm just going to take some questions from the press, and then I'll come and spend some time with you. I've got a number of questions. I've got first Chris Mason from the BBC. Chris.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Chris Mason, BBC News. The cost of living is continuing to bite for many. Now the economy feels more vulnerable. People will worry about recession, perhaps the prospect of taxes going up again, and pensions now being hit by the markets falling. Isn't the blunt truth that you can't shield people from the policies of President Trump?
Sorry, Chris, can you just say that a little bit more loudly? I couldn't quite
Sure,
hear you.
I just asked that last bit again. Isn't the blunt truth that you can't shield everyone from the policies of President Trump? Thank you.
Look, I think there are undoubtedly challenges here. As I say, nobody welcomes tariffs. We don't want to get into a trade war. Obviously, we will continue to talk to the US about a deal to alleviate the situation whilst keeping all options on the table. But what's important, and in direct answer to your question, is at a moment like this, we have to shape our future. We have to step up. We can't be cowed and simply say there are things happening in a changing world which make it more difficult, and therefore we retreat. This is the moment to seize that opportunity. And that's why I'm absolutely clear in my mind that the two things that we have to absolutely turbocharge are, one, the support we're putting into our own economy, like the measures I've announced today in relation to cars, or life sciences. So they're a down payment, by the way. They're a statement of intent. That is not the extent of the turbocharging. It is simply early examples in the areas most impacted. But at the same time, having discussions with others about lowering trade barriers for free trade across the world. And we have to step into that space. We have to be prepared to lead for Britain on this, rather than be cowed by the circumstances, the challenges that are thrown at us. And that's what we will do with a driving sense of purpose. Thank you, Chris, very much. I've now got Sam.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Sam Coates, Sky News. This is a massive moment, and the markets are watching right now. Can you say, without hesitation, that you will keep Rachel Reeves' fiscal rules exactly as they are for the whole of the Parliament, and not come back at any point and say events mean that they need changing?
Well, Sam, this is a moment for stepping us up, as I've just said. The fiscal rules were put in for a purpose, and that is because Liz Truss tried an experiment with this country of putting to one side fiscal rules and checks and balances. And that caused a massive impact on the lives of working people as inflation and interest rates went through the roof. We are not prepared to inflict that kind of damage on working people. That's why we put the fiscal rules in the first place, to create that kind of stability. It's why we were able to invest at the budget and set out, as we did, the steps for the future in the spring statement. Now is the time to build on that. What we're saying about security for our economy is what we were saying going into the election, what we said out the other side, but now we've got to turbocharge it and link it to the other measures for lowering trade barriers. So the reaction to the challenges of the last few days is not for us to say, well, the first thing we'll now do is to put on one side our fiscal rules. It's to remind people why we put them in place in the first place, which is to create the certainty that we need. There is enough uncertainty and insecurity as it is. Our job is to calmly and pragmatically take forward these really important steps today for our country. Thank you. Robert Peston from ITV.
Prime Minister, in the last few minutes, the American stock market has gone into bear market territory. This is now officially Donald Trump's global crash. Have you told the American president that his tariffs are making the world and America poorer, and if not, why not? And if I may, the King has extended the most extraordinary honour to the American president of a second state visit. Isn't this the moment to rescind that invitation?
Well, Robert, I've been clear throughout and in all my discussions that nobody welcomes tariffs. That has been my consistent position because I think directly or indirectly they damage all of us. And that is why we're working so hard here in the UK in the measures we're taking in our economy, such as those announced today, to turbocharge the resilience of our economy and to step into that space, and why I've spent a lot of the last few days talking to international leaders about how we lower trade barriers and trade more openly as a nation. That does not detract from the fact that the US is a very close partner of the United Kingdom. On trade and the economy, of course, look at the product coming out of here going very much to North America. It's not in our interest to simply rip up that relationship any more than it is on defence and security and on intelligence sharing, where we 24/7 are operating with the US as our closest ally. So yes, we have to keep pragmatic and calm in the steps that we take, but we also need to keep a sense of perspective and context. The relationship between us and the US is a long-standing relationship that has helped to keep the peace for 80 years, and it is wrong to simply walk away from that relationship, in my view. It's a special relationship, close relationship. We now have to step up to the challenges that tariffs undoubtedly put on the table for us. Thank you, Robert. Chris from GB News.
Prime Minister, Chris Hope from GB News. You said the old assumptions don't apply anymore. We've got your back, you told us just then. People are really worried about their finances. The ISA deadline was Saturday. People put money into stock markets now. Would you stick to your election pledge now not to increase national insurance, VAT or income tax for the lifetime of this Parliament?
Chris, we made that commitment in the manifesto, and we were absolutely clear about going into the budget and the spring statement, and that is a commitment we've made and a commitment that we will keep, because the first lever can't be more taxes. My strong belief is that we have to grow our economy, create the conditions for investment, which we have done. There's been record investment coming into our economy. Now, in the light of these challenges, we have to go further and faster in the changes we're making, whether that's to do with regulation, whether it's to deal with the EV mandate, to make it more flexible so that businesses like this can thrive and meet the challenges. We have to push on into that space. So I'm still strongly of the view that the challenge we face is how to grow our economy, not just the sort of familiar tax and spend levers. Thank you. I'm going to go now to the Telegraph, and Tony, please, Tony Driver.
Thank you, Tony Diver from The Telegraph. Today, Prime Minister, you've announced that you're putting more flexibility into the EV scheme to reduce red tape for businesses at a time of instability. Are you reviewing other net zero restrictions? Will you reconsider the ban on gas boilers in new homes and charges on manufacturers for producing glass bottles?
Well, we are taking measures today to ensure there's greater flexibility, and that is driven to ensure that businesses like this and jobs here are the jobs of the future, and to make sure that we thrive in the way we've thrived so far. I see net zero as a real opportunity. There's a global race on for the jobs of the future in relation to net zero. More investment is coming into this country in relation to renewables than any other sector. I don't think now is the time to step away from that race. Now is the time to double down on that race. Some country is going to win the race when it comes to renewables, and the changes for net zero. I want Britain to be in that race, and I want us to win that race. So yes, we will work with all sectors, as we've shown today. We're not ideological, we're pragmatic. If there's flexibilities that help, which is what we've done today, in important times for JLR, yeah, of course we will take those steps. But not to understand that net zero, the electric cars of the future, there's a global race for that. We don't want to back away from that race. We want to win that race, because therein lies the wealth of our country, the wealth of businesses like this, and the jobs not just of the people standing here in front of us, but of their children and their children's children. And that's what I have in my mind's eye when I go down this path. I've got Noah from The Sun, please.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Can you guarantee that when the current model of Red Arrows goes out of service, any new model won't be designed by warmongering Russia?
Yes, of course. That would be absolutely uppermost in my mind. I can give you that guarantee. It's very, very important that we don't have Russian influence in Red Arrows or anything else for that matter. Thank you very much. I've got Alex from Bloomberg. Alex.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Alex Wickham from Bloomberg. Are you considering further measures to protect the car industry, like import quotas? You said you'd do whatever it takes to protect them today. And on British Steel, the last British blast furnaces are within days of closure. UK set to become the only major economy without a virgin steel industry. Will you do what it takes to protect it? And would you consider nationalisation if it comes to it?
Well, Alex, I'm not going to get into particular measures. What I will say in relation to the first half of your question is, what we've said today for the car industry is not the extent of anything that we can do, and I want to explore what more we can do. These are examples of what we can do at speed, but they're not the extent of my ambition when it comes to car manufacturing or any other business or sector. I think we can go further and faster, and we will do so. I'm not indicating they're a particular measure, but I am indicating an openness of mind to go further, and today's announcement should be seen as what they are, which is a down payment on the way that we're going to be doing business. On the broader question of steel, look, it is really important to us. Again, it's part of our heritage. Our plans for growth are going to require more steel, and therefore the demand for steel is going to go up, not down, and that's why it's important that we support our steel industry. I'm really pleased that in Port Talbot we were able to ensure there was a better deal. I'm really pleased that we've set aside £2.5 billion for the future of steel. I'm very pleased that we're working with and discussing the situation in Scunthorpe, which is extremely worrying for the business, for the workforce, and for the community, and for the country. You know, all options are on the table in relation to Scunthorpe. Again, an example of the approach that we will take. When I talk of an active government, what I mean is a government that rolls up its sleeve, gets on the pitch, whether it's car industry, whether it's life sciences, or whether it's steel. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you again to all of you for being with us this afternoon. Thank you for what you do. And I'm now going to use what time I've got left to talk to all of you, which is what I want to do very much. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.